that it's me. Hey. And I will also invite to the podium Johanna Vesterinen. Johanna is the director of the Finnish repository library from Kuopio and National Library of Finland, and I am running the team that, among other things, provides Koha services not only in the National Library but to 16 other academic libraries in Finland. And that's not all the Koha in Finland. We have the Koha in public libraries. There are about 100 municipalities that use Koha, and services to them is provided by Koha-Suomi Ltd. That is one of the organizers of this conference, and it's a company owned by those municipalities that run Koha, so that they have centralized the development and much of the maintenance work in that non-profit company. Me and Johanna are going to talk about what in the program says future milestones, but we have actually two because of the limited time. And we may seem to be contradicting each other in that in the first part, we are saying that an old technology is a good one and it should be kept alive. And then that's Johanna's part. And then I will say that some technology we are using now is obsolete and we should get rid of it. And how to combine these two things is then something that we might perhaps discuss in the future. But Johanna is going to talk to us about interlibrary loans and what we want to do with them in Finland.
Thank you. So, hello everybody, nice to see you all here. It's a good start for a coming autumn to see you and discuss about our common issues all together here within these 3 days. So, let's start with well, maybe not the newest technology, but technology in some way. You all who work at the libraries, you are very familiar with the interlibrary loans, aren't you? You know what we are dealing with. So one library lends material from another, and the end user, so the clients, will get what they want at the end, and they don't see how the magic is done in between. And we, the librarians, are very familiar with the process in behind the scenes. And as we know it also, the clients, our customers, have various kinds of needs, what they want, and how they want, and when they want it. So the ILL has many benefits in those services, as we know, and we can't pass the economic part as well. So you don't have to own, so to say, everything at your own collection or at your own library. You can lend or borrow it from another one, and that's how it's done. That's how we have done for decades, haven't we? And we are still doing it. But the methods, they may change and have changed. So as we all know this part as well, e-books are here to stay and all e-materials are here to stay, and we are used to using them. We know how to deal with these items, and our clients know even better. But let's face it, we will never get rid of printed material. And do we want it? Well, I would say we don't. Here you can see the publishing, how it has developed in Finland within 1 century. So the fiction it has reached its certain level and it has stayed there for a long time, but non-fiction printing is going down, and because of the e-material, and it's rising and rising, and I think that we both are pretty sure that that way is going a bit bit lower and
true.
way much lower than what it is right now. But still, we are going to need the printed material. And this is where my part really starts, and my library, which I represent. So the National Repository Library of Finland is a library of printed material. We have some 2.2 million books, could be more, near 3 million or so. 120,000 periodicals we have in our bookshelves. And our collection is increasing some 60,000 items per year, and each year. We don't do much weeding in our collection or from our collection. We are a library of other libraries, so we don't have any individual clients using our library. So in that kind of way, our services are a bit invisible to the so-called end users or our clients. But we want to change this part. How our collection increases? Well, it increases like that the libraries, they are doing weeding in their own collections, and they check our library collections. And if they notice that this certain item is not yet in National Repository Library, then they are able to send it to our collection. We receive it, we catalogue it, and then it's ready for use. And it should be easily found everywhere and for everyone. We give out some 80,000 loans per year, and this number includes some 15,000 scanned articles to our clients and libraries as well. And this is something quite unique, I dare to say, that we are totally free of charges library. So every library can use our collections free of charge. And when they weed collection, they are able to send the material to our library free as well. So we will deal with the bills and so. National Repository Library is part of Finnish Ministry Culture and Education, and we get our funding from the state budget. And 18 librarians work at the library right now. So quite a compact pact we have there. And our library is not located in Helsinki. It's located in Kuopio, which is some 400 kilometers up from here to north of Finland. Okay, so let's talk about some basic facts and little about these ILL processes. It should be very smooth. It should be easy, efficient, and economical as well. And it should be very easy for customers. You just push one button from the database to order an item you want or your customer wants. And it's in most cases operates like this, doesn't it? You all know what I'm talking about. The whole process should be very efficient for libraries as well. It all should be very automatic, and the messages from one library to our library to another library should be very easy to use. It should be very automatic as well. But I'm not quite sure are we there yet. We might have some work to be done in the coming days and in the future. But this is something that we know already. This is very economic way of using the collections and reusing the collections, not to keeping them, all the collections at your own library, but just saving one copy of an item in a certain place where you can be sure you can get it very easily and in a very economic way back. So this really helps the whole weeding process at the libraries. So here's the magic and how it should be done and how we are doing it right now. Okay, let's say that I want a certain item from another library. I make an order, my own library locates it somewhere. Well, perhaps it will be found in the National Repository Library or at the National Library or so. They will send us the message, and hopefully, and in best case, well, let's face it as well, not every library is using the Koha. Why? That's the question we want to have an answers in these days, but in any way. My library might have another library system, and National Repository Library is a Koha library. In an ideal world, these two library systems talk to each other in a language they both understand. We get the receive, we fetch the item from the bookshelves, we check it out, and then we mail it to the library which has ordered the item. And then me as a client, I will get my book what I want. Well, sounds a bit tricky and complicated, doesn't it? So National Repository Library and National Library, among other Finnish Koha libraries, we have been working with this issue now like for 2 years. And we have very high hopes that we can ease and smooth this whole process in the coming years. Hopefully there won't be so many years to come, but 1 or 2 years that we find a perfect and nice and smooth solution. So, what do we want and what do we need and what do we hope to receive? We need the ISO support so that the different library systems would talk with each other in the same language that they both and they all can understand and share. And we think that this is the way for smoothing these interlibrary loan transactions. And what do we get and what do we receive with this one? Well, hopefully better used collections, much more satisfied clients, better use of printed materials. We know it already that even though the e-books are rising and it's the new normal, we will never be in the situation that we can say goodbyes to printed material. And do we really want it? I'm not quite sure. But we want to ease the use of and the usage of library material, no matter what shape it is in. It might be printed, it might be e-material, it might be whatever else we can come up with. And this is a challenge for all of us. And I think that this is something that we really all must talk together and find the solutions of smoother methods for interlending material. Because at the end, we will all be winners in this case. So, now it's time for Esa-Pekka to tell us what might be the solutions.
Yes, so about what we have done, as Johanna said, we have been working with this problem. And one thing we have been examining is a broker system. There are those available. that receives ILL messages from one library system and then sends them to the other library system. And we have been working hard, and frankly, it has been a pain. And adding that broker system to our tower services means that we have another rather complicated piece of software doing something that actually should be and could be done without that brokering system. So that's why we are especially interested in introducing ISO 18626 capabilities in Koha. There are solutions for interlibrary loans in Koha, but they are not standard, and that's the issue. And that's actually the situation with the most library systems, that when you are working within one system environment, the interlibrary loans are a breeze. And then you try to do it between the library system, it halts altogether. And in Finland, we have a few library systems in the libraries in use. Alma by Ex Libris has the support for the ISO, and that's a good start because it's also used by many university libraries. Then we have other library systems that are perhaps a little bit legacy. So there, the achieving the ISO support might be a little tortuous, but it's something that we will push them to achieve. And I think this is something that we will be talking more. We have raised the issue in the Koha community, but we will be talking about this later more and try to get people involved in achieving the ISO support in Koha. So standards are very important. We are also an ISO member of the National Library, so we know. Oh, right. That's one of our future milestones we would like to see in Koha, the one-click only interlibrary loans for the customers. You might ask, why do we send the books to the library where the customer must come and fetch the book? That's a legislation because it says in the law that the repository library serves libraries, so we can't have the direct connections to the customers. But it's also a blessing in that the repository library can keep the customer base pretty simple. So it's the libraries and not a gazillion individuals, because that will raise the level of need for example, advice and support enormously. So at the moment, we aim to get to the book to the nearest library as easily as possible. Then someone wrote that Mark must die, and that was like 21 years ago. And it has not died yet. But this is something I think we must also start to discuss. So I suppose most of the audience are librarians or Koha developers, so you know what this is. This is MARC metadata, and this is, let's party like it's 1968, because then this format was developed first time. And I don't have to tell you that it has been a great tool for decades. It has done miracles to interoperability between libraries in its time, and it still does. But it has begun to show its age 20 years ago, and we can easily see that there are many problems with it. For example, in the upper right corner, we say the writer, it's kirjoittaja, so it's in Finnish, and it's anybody's guess how you would like to integrate this with something that works in English. And there are many other things in MARC that really are not very supportive of how data is managed and used nowadays. So link at open data is of course something that we are thinking about. And this is, of course, also something that has already started to happen in the library world. We have library systems that are approaching a linked open data model, although at the moment still they keep up the facade of MARC, because every other library system uses MARC, so we need it as a sort of a transportation method. But I think the most important thing is that whatever we do in the libraries, we do the same thing as all the other guys are doing. So when for example, research data is changing into linked open data, it's very important that the library data can be used in the same way, with the same standards and with the same tools and any other data. MARC, we have open APIs to our MARC data, that's not a problem. But for example, if you want to put a question that how many Finnish novels in Finnish language were published last year, so the answer is a very complicated query to somewhere in the 500 fields, subfield this and indicator that. So we need to improve that, so that when we open the data, it is data that is easily understood and easily used by other people. And that means that not only library data enriches other data, but also other data enrich library data. The open linked data also opens new possibilities into economy in metadata creation. So we have a lot of cooperation in authority control. We share authorities, things like that, but we could do much more, so that when you have one author, he or she is there, and we use and reuse that data again and again. Other technologies of linked open data, but I am just warning that the change is looming. Melinda is the national metadata repository in Finland, and that means that virtually all new metadata that we catalog in Finland is created there, or it's uploaded there right when the metadata is created. And those records are then reused by other libraries. So the Melinda is the central repository of metadata, and then we replicate the records in the local systems so that everyone gets their records to their library system. We are in the process of rethinking Melinda. At the moment, it's running on Aleph, which is also a bit of a legacy system already, and we have been looking at the options. And the aim is that linked open data will be the basis of the new Melinda system. That means also a fundamental change in the cataloging, because we are not going to catalog in MARC and then somehow translate it into linked open data, but the cataloging would be changed fundamentally. And of course, in reality, we will provide MARC records for the local libraries for a long time to come, but then we lose all the fun. So if we really want to enrich also the local experiences, we need to think what is going to be the replacement of MARC in the long run. And we could, the libraries, and we are already contributing quite a lot to the landscape of linked open data. And my first thing I try to say everywhere is that librarians, you know things, you know about metadata, and many people outside libraries imagine they know about metadata, and it's painful. I've been there. I have been working in a project regarding, for example, research data, and the tragedy is that they start to invent the wheel again, and then they are little von oben looking at the librarians that you don't know about this, but we do. We have been doing this for decades. So keep your eyes open and don't keep your mouth shut. So that's the important thing to do, so that you can really contribute beyond the borders of the library. And there are at least 3 things where libraries have a good track record. There are ontologies. I mentioned here the finto.fi. The National Library provides a platform, a home for dozens Finnish ontologies, and we also import some international ones there. And we do a lot of, we have a general Finnish ontology, and then we also integrate or link those ontologies together so that if you have a stone in that ontology and stone there, so they find each other in the Finto system. And in the opening speech, Kim already mentioned Cosmos, which is a Scos publishing tool, and that's really internationally quite widely used tool. So we work a lot with ontologies. And the identifiers are the other thing. We have a tradition of identifiers, ISBNs, ISSNs, ISMNs, but we do need new ones, and that means, for example, research publications, which are going heavily with DOI, researchers who are going heavily with ORCID, and then URNs that are a bit of a Nordic German little secret, but it's an actual IANA standard, and it's getting more and more implementations. Every day I follow the mailing list where they accept new namespaces for URN, so it's growing all the time. So, and we have just published a roadmap for national ID policy in Finland, so that we would increase the use of persistent identifiers wherever they are useful. And I mentioned the authorities. Tove Jansson is one of the best-known Finnish authors, and he's all these persons here, and I didn't have the space for all non-Latin character versions of her, so and I need to find out the Tove Jansson, which language is that. It's very interesting. So we provide actually things that are very, very useful for the society as a whole. We have not been able to publish person authorities yet, but we have published the institutional authorities in Finto so that they can be used by everyone. And all this, of course, means big change. RDA and BibFrame, well, there are books still, but otherwise it will be a big change in how things are thought about and how the cataloging and description of items will happen. So it means a lot of thought and a lot of education and a lot of discussion. But we know that there are products that are approaching that. We have Folio, which is the open source library system that has also become a thing, I would say, during the few years when the National Library was contemplating a new library system in 2015, and after that we of course thought about Folio, but back at that time it was a little bit of an uncertainty, which is not anymore. And another for us an example, important example, is Libris Excel that is used in Sweden as a national system. So it also has a linked data basis. So all this will mean a lot of restructuring, and I'm not a developer, I'm a philologist, so I can't even imagine what it means in regarding a library system. I think it might mean a pretty total rewriting of things, but that's something that I give the smarter minds to think about. But the important thing is that it means keeping libraries relevant. It has always been important that our data is where the people is, and our data is where the other data are. So in that way, we need to think that how long MARC records will be interesting enough in the general society to be useful and impactful. So this is really what we want to do. And we talked about different things, as I said, about an old, well-proven method of enhancing the collections of libraries, and then something that is perhaps rotting slowly in the very core of our nowadays library world. So these are interesting questions, and I don't have the answers, but if anyone in the audience has, I welcome him to take the mic and tell it now. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Johanna.